Hello. In this lecture, we are going to know how to create our first project, which is gonna be called training. It's very easy, very straightforward. You go to here in File, New Project Wizard. You can either select New or New Project Wizard. But we'll choose the wizard because it's gonna be easier. Just click on the wizard and then you say you want to start step 7 wizard new project. I click yes on next, and then here it asks you which CPU you want to select in your project. Depends on your actual physical CPU. You're gonna select your CPU from here. Generally speaking, here are CPU 300 and 400 series. In our project we are going to use CPU 400. I prefer always to use 414 3 dB because it has 3 dB. And gives you the addresses. Here the MPI address is 2. Work memory 1.4 megabyte for code and 1.5 megabyte for data, and the speed and all the specs for the CPU is here. Okay, I'm gonna be selected. This CPU will be selected. Okay, next, and then it asks you which organization blocks you want to add. At least you have to select OB1. But it gives you the option to select any other OBs. You can select the OB in this stage, or if you haven't selected here, it doesn't make too much trouble. You can create these OBs later. But in our case, we are going to select the one we are going to use in our project. So we're going to select OB1. We will select OB35, which is cyclic interrupt 1. I hope you have read and watched the lessons that describing what are the OBs and what the usage for the OB. Give you everything you need to know about the organization blocks. In our project we're using OB1, OB35, OB82, OB85. So this CPU fault, IO point fault, and the 3 OBs for the restart, OB100, 101, and 102. And then click next. What the project name will be called training. Our training is already be used, so we can assign new one. Say training 1 and finish. Then your project will be created as we can see here. So this is the OBs you have selected, and this is the project name training 1, and this is the stations. Okay. So starting from this point, you can either add your code here. You can do whatever you want. You can add new function blocks. You can add new functions, FC, new data blocks, new data type, new variable table. Whatever you want, you can add them here, and you can configure your hardware as well. To configure hardware, there is separate lesson for hardware configuration, but we'll just give a brief introduction here on how to add your card and the I/O modules into your hardware. So if you click schematic 400 stations, you'll find the hardware. Double click on the hardware, it opens up the hardware configuration window. Okay. So we are using here, this is the rack, and this is the CPU. For that CPU to be running, we need a power supply. And power supply usually used in the first slot. So I'll go here, we're using schematic 400, power supply, and then standard power supply, and then we can use any of these ones. Yeah, every one of them has its own part number and has its own configuration and own settings. In our example, we are going to use 407 10 ampere, just the first one. This AC power supply, standard PS. Okay, I'll take the first one here, and then double click. It's installed in the first slot. Okay, and then you can add the I/O cards if you want. Start from here. I'll just add the I/O cards in the ISM signal modules. I'll put some digital input cards. So I'll put like 3 digital input card, 32 digital input, 32 channel, 24 volt. So I'll use that one 3 times, that one and that one, and then I will use 2 digital output, 24 volt as well, 32 channel, 0.5 ampere. So I will use this one, and 1 analog output, this one, and well, I can use 1 analog input or whatever, 1 analog input. Let's use that one. Okay, very easy. Now we need to have the network, the Ethernet network. We need to add the CP, the modules that's used for Ethernet network. So here we need to add CP400, industrial Ethernet, CP443, gonna be used here, and ask you for the IP address for that one. We'll use the default. You can change that IP address if you want, and press OK. Okay, and then we can configure our first own network to add the remote IOs. So we go here on the DB and then right click, add master system, and then there's no network here. I will use a new network. I'll call this network Profibus link. Okay. And press OK. So this is the Profibus, and you can change the properties here, the network setting and the speed and everything you want to add here if you want. Otherwise, you just press OK, and then you have your first master network here. And then from that point, you can add your new remote IOs. Very easy. So if you go to IM, not that one, let me go back here. Profibus DB 8200M IM553, add it here. So what the address for that one is, start with 1 and the properties, and then you add the first remote IO. And here you can add the new input output modules. I can like add here, this doesn't belong to here because it's 400 rack. We can go 300 rack, SM input. So yeah, because this drive is 300 rack, we need to go to 300 family. So I will add first the digital input. So add digital input here, not here, starting from here. So digital input here, 2 digital input, and then 2 digital output. Let's make 24 volt. 2 digital output can install because can't insert in that module. Okay, never mind. yeah, it gives you this one can be installed, because this one's different. Digital input, this digital output with diagnostics can be used with that remote I/O point, but here it gives you the option to add that card. This one can be used here. So I'll use two of these digital output cards, and then use one of the analog input cards. Then there's two and one analog output card. This one, okay. And so now this is the first remote I/O. We can just copy and paste. Second one, it asks you for the next address, address 3, because address 2 is being used here. So this one, address 3, the next one, or you can select any of these addresses up to 125. So the network can take 125 point, remote I/O point, and press OK. Okay, and then you can put just, yeah, if you don't want all of these, just delete, right click, delete, don't delete, yes, I don't want that one, delete, yes, yeah, depends on your configuration, and so on. And then you can another one, copy, add another remote I/O, address 4, and then you can configure the input output modules. Now you have created your project, so you configure the software here, which blocks you want to configure, and then you can add any other blocks or data type or any other objects here in software, and you can add any other module here, remote I/O, input output modules, anything can be done very easily. Thank you. If you have any questions, sure, send me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.